Salut, bienvenue. Welcome to another French lesson with Anna. And today we're going to talk about le présent des verbes réfléchis. So that's the present tense of reflexive verbs. If you'd like to have a lesson on just the regular present tense of regular and irregular verbs, check out the other lesson that is called le présent de l'indicatif. But following, and it's actually important if you haven't looked at that lesson and if you don't really have an idea of what the present tense is all about, it will help you understand this one a little bit better, okay? So, le présent des verbes réfléchis is really just the present tense, but the reflexive verbs also called pronominaux, and we're going to see why we're calling them réfléchis. It's because under pronominaux, we have the reflexive and we have the reciprocal ones, the réciproque. Today, we're just looking at the réfléchis. And so in this lesson, the verbe réfléchis, it says, le pronom réfléchi indique que le sujet du verbe exécute l'action sur lui-même, okay? What does this mean? It means that the action, so the verb, the action is done by the person and it's also received by the person. In English, we express that concept as oneself. I wash myself, you wash yourself, he washes himself, and so on and so forth. In French, this idea of myself, yourself, himself, etc. is expressed by the pronom réfléchi se. So, when we have an infinitive in English to wash oneself, the French will put se in front of the verb. That's what that line means. À l'infinitif, un verbe réfléchi a toujours le pronom réfléchi se devant lui. Okay, so this se is the reflexive pronoun. Once you start conjugating the verb, myself, yourself, etc., this se in French is also going to change. And it's very simple because it becomes me, tu, ce, nous, vous, ce. You're going to see, okay? So here we go. Some examples. Se laver, and later on I'm going to give you a list of the most common ones. So se laver, se lever, and s'endormir. The first two are regular ER verbs. So if you remember from the present tense lesson, ER verbs that are regular, we get rid of the ending ER and we're going to add the endings for each subject pronoun, such as E, ES, E, ONS, EZ, ENT. The last one ends in IR, but it's irregular. So remember, it doesn't follow the rule. This one, we will have to memorize it, but we're going to look at it step by step. So, se laver means to wash oneself, to take a shower, to take a bath, okay? So that's the one. Se lever means to get up, okay? It can be from bed in the morning, can be from your chair. So any action that is to get up is expressed with se lever. And s'endormir means to fall asleep, okay? So how do we conjugate these guys? Well, let's look at the first one. Se laver. So you have the se right there, which is your reflexive oneself. And there you go. You have the verb ER that ends in ER, which is regular. So we take out that ending and we replace it with the endings I just mentioned. E, ES for tu, E for il, elle, and on, ONS for nous, Z, EZ, right, for vous, and ENT, ENT, for il plural and elle plural. But now we are adding one extra word, which is the oneself idea. So I wash myself becomes je me, we're changing this se to a me, lave. And in French, most pronouns, especially the ones with functions like this, are placed before the verb. There is a lesson on pronouns as well, okay? If you are curious to know about it, check it out. So the me is always placed before the verb. Je me lave. I wash myself. Tu, and then the se in this infinitive here becomes te for yourself. Okay, tu te laves. For il and elle stays the same. Okay, so il se lave, that means he washes himself. Elle se lave, that means she washes herself. And on se lave, this on, even though it's in the singular form as a conjugation, it actually is an informal way of saying we. We wash ourselves, okay? So on se lave. Then we move to the way, the actual way we say we, so nous, and it's not a typo. We repeat this nous because they do have different functions. The first nous is a subject pronoun that means we, and the second nous actually means ourselves. So in French, in this case, we use the same pronoun to express both ideas. And so you have to repeat it because they have different functions, okay? So you say nous lavons, we wash ourselves. Then vous, same idea as nous. Vous, subject pronoun, is also a vous as a reflexive pronoun. So vous lavez, you wash yourselves. Or it can be yourself if it's the formal one, the formal way of treating someone with respect, someone in a place of authority, someone you really don't know, older than you, so on and so forth. And then the last one, il, which is the plural for masculine, il se lave. So notice that for il singular and il plural and elle singular and elle plural, the pronoun stays the same as in the infinitive. Okay, so the idea of oneself, himself, herself, and themselves is the same pronoun. Okay, so it makes life a little bit easier. So il se lave, remember we don't pronounce nt. Elles se lave. They, masculine, wash themselves, and they, feminine, wash themselves. So this is how we conjugate the present tense of reflexive verbs. We need to remember they have three parts. The subject pronoun, je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il and elle. It has a second part, which is the reflexive pronoun, le pronom réfléchis, me, te, se, nous, vous, ce. And then the verb, which in this case happens to be an ER regular verbs. The easy thing about reflexive verbs is that most of them are regular verbs and most of them are actually ER regular verbs. So the next ones, the next two actually, the following two were se lever and s'endormir. Se lever, if you remember, if you have checked the lesson on le présent d'indicatif, lever by itself is actually one of the verbs we look at because it is a regular verb, it ends in ER, but due to pronunciation, that first E there, we change it a little bit because it opens, the vowel opens for some of the subject pronouns and we need to add that accent grave. But that's it. What you do in le présent d'indicatif, you're going to do it here as well. The only thing extra is that pronom réfléchi. So, se lever, to get up, right? Je me, now we know that the se changes to me, je me lève. It's lever, we don't say je me lève, we say je me lève. So in order to open that E, there's that accent grave. Next one, tu te lèves, you get up. Same idea, you have to open that E. Il se lève, he gets up. Himself, he's doing the action and it's falling on him, he's receiving it. Elle se lève, she gets up. Et on se lève, we get up. And then nous levons. Remember the second nous is the reflexive, it means ourselves. So we get up. Vous levez, you get up. And then we go back to that se. Il se lève, and again, the accent here, accent grave, and elle se lève, accent grave. Notice that for nous and vous, we didn't put that accent grave, again, because we don't stress this syllable. We don't say nous lèvons, we say nous levons. So the stressed syllable is the last one. No need to put that accent there, all right? And the same thing for vous. Moving over to s'endormir. So s'endormir, as I point out here for you, it's ici, c'est un verbe irrégulier. So this is an irregular verb. And as I explained on the other lesson about le présent, irregular verbs are the verbs that cannot follow the rule that has been established for that particular tense. So even though this verb ends in IR, which if it were regular, we would take out the IR and we would proceed to add IS, IS, IT, ISSONS, ISSEZ, and ISSENT. We don't do that. And the reason why we don't do that is because the verb dormir, to sleep, does not follow that rule. So any verb that has dormir as its root will follow exactly the same rule of the irregular one. In other words, dormir is irregular, s'endormir will also be irregular. This particular one means to fall asleep. Now, notice that the S for se has an apostrophe. The reason for that is because the se, if you look over here, that E has no accent. It's a silent E. So if we have a silent E in French followed by another vowel, which in this case happens to be another E, but it can be any vowel, we drop the E and we put an apostrophe because the two words become one. They are connected in sound. So se endormir, it just wouldn't work for the French. So s'endormir, okay, becomes one. It applies to me and te because me and te also have silent E's. So whatever you did for the se, you're going to do for the me and you're going to do it for the te. Again, je m'endors. The verb dormir is dors, D-O-R-S. And in this case, it just has that prefix there, en, right? So je m'endors, I fall asleep. Tu t'endors. Notice that je and tu share the same conjugation, okay? Tu t'endors. Te endors became t'endors. You fall asleep. Then il s'endort. Similar conjugation is that instead of ending in an S, it ends in a T. Elle s'endort. Don't pronounce the T. On s'endort. We fall asleep for on. He falls asleep and she falls asleep. Then we have nous endormons. Now, because of this nous ending in S and the verb beginning with an E over here, we do that liaison. So the French like to connect words if they have the same vowel sound going on. So nous endormons, we are going to make it sound a little better. Nous endormons. So this S connects to the E with a Z sound. Nous endormons. The same thing is going to happen with vous. So vous endormez. That's how we conjugate the verb. You fall asleep. So we have that S over here. We have that vowel over there. We do the liaison, the connection. So vous endormez. Okay? Nous endormons. Vous endormez. And the last one, il s'endorme. So the verb dormir again here is very irregular. So il s'endorme, they, masculine form, fall asleep. And elle s'endorme, they, feminine form, fall asleep. It's one of the very, very few when it comes to verbe réfléchis that is actually irregular. The other ones, with the exception of lever with the accent grave, they're pretty much the same. So as I promised, you're going to have a list of verbs that are very common, reflexive verbs that are very common in French, and they are all conjugated the same way. And they're all regular verbs, again, with the exception of lever, where we have to put accent grave. So let's go over this list. Se laver means to wash oneself. Se lever, to get up. Se peigner, to comb one's hair. Se raser, to shave. Moving on, se laver, to wash oneself, as we said. Se lever, to get up. Se peigner, to comb one's hair. Se raser, to shave. Se maquiller, to put on makeup. Se parfumer, to wear perfume. Se brosser, to brush one's hair. If you're brushing your teeth, you have to say it. Se brosser les dents. Now, this is important to remember. In French, we do not use the possessive pronouns or adjectives to indicate body parts. What does that mean? It means that in English, I say, I'm brushing my teeth. they're mine, right? They belong to me, so those are the ones I'm brushing. In French, you don't have to, because the reflexive verb, je me brosse, gives me the idea that I'm brushing my own teeth, because if I were brushing someone else's teeth, I would not use the se. I would just say, je brosse les dents de mon fils, for example. I'm brushing my son's teeth. Now, because you say this, in French, it cancels the my teeth. You actually use the article the. So, se brosser les dents, just like this in the infinitive, means to brush one's teeth. When I start conjugating, it is an ER regular verb. So, je me brosse. We don't say je me brosse mes dents. We say je me brosse les dents, the teeth. Tu te brosses les dents, the teeth. Okay? So keep that in mind. Or les mains, whatever the case may be. All right? A couple more. S'amuser means to have fun or to have a good time. Se coucher means to go to bed. Remember, to go to bed, se coucher, to fall asleep, s'endormir, which is the one right after. Okay, so there's a difference between the two. S'habiller, to get dressed. Let me say something here about s'habiller. S'habiller, notice, follows the same rule as s'endormir. We drop the E and we put an apostrophe there. And you can say, but why? There's no vowel there. There's an H. Well, most words in French that begin with an H, the H is actually silent. We do not say habiller, we say habiller. It's as if that H was not there. So because the H is silent, we call that H muet, a silent H. Because it is silent, it has to be treated as if it were just a vowel, as if the word began with the A. And this is the reason why we drop the E and we put that apostrophe there, even though there is an H in this word. Okay? So s'habiller means to get dressed. Se déshabiller, to undress, so the opposite. Se regarder, to look at oneself in the mirror. Okay? So you're looking at yourself to see if everything is okay. Se doucher, to take a shower. And se promener, to go for a walk. So these are the most important reflexive verbs. Remember, the actual group is called les verbes pronominaux, but it splits into réfléchis and réciproque. And the réciproque will be another lesson, okay? So the reflexive, les verbes réfléchis, are the ones that you do the action, or whoever does the action receives the action as well. And these, even though there are more, these are the most common ones, especially at the beginning stages when you are beginning to learn French. That's it for this one. I have some exercises that you will be able to practice and download. I'll put the link below. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Or if you need another lesson, any grammar point that you need clarified, let me know and I'll try to make a lesson for you. Thank you. I'll see you soon. À la prochaine.